VocalEye Almost Live Zoom. Shenanigans and Shanties. A virtual St. Paddy Day's frolic. Hosted by Amy Amantea. With special guest, Eileen Barrett.
So a big welcome to you all to this VocalEye Almost Live event. My name is Amy Amantea. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Associate Director here at VocalEye. I'm your host for these Almost Live events, and I'm a member of this community, the blind community, the most lovely community I've ever had a privilege of being a part of in my life. And so I just want to say thank you for folks who have supported VocalEye, who've written in beautiful testimonial letters, who've made contributions, who've helped us with social media videos to spread the word, who've come to our shows, who sign up for our newsletters, all of those things, who are watching these episodes on our YouTube channel. So please know that we read all of the letters, that we share them with our funders, that we want to know the impact that this program, that these program offerings are making on you, and that helps us to get funding to hopefully continue these almost live events. And if folks are checking out these episodes on our YouTube channel, it doesn't matter if you live with blindness or any other disability or sight, everybody's welcome in this space. So please hit like and subscribe and share and help us spread the word about VocalEye, where we describe live arts and cultural events, and of course, almost live events here on the Zoom space for people who are blind and low vision. VocalEye is broadcasting to you from the traditional and unceded or stolen lands of the Coast Salish peoples, in particular the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. So here in Vancouver, colonially known as Vancouver, so I am on the North Shore, that's Squamish lands. For folks who are familiar with the area, I'm just on the other side of the Lionsgate Bridge and or the Second Narrows or Ironworkers Memorial Bridge. And the weather here has been nice and / rainy. So it changes all the time. We hear this about Vancouver all the time. But every once in a while, we get a rainbow. And I was thinking about this because I haven't actually seen a rainbow in a very long time. And I kind of miss them. So it made me think about if there's a significance to rainbows within Indigenous communities. And I didn't know the answer, so of course I thought maybe I'd look it up. And so here's what I discovered, and I want to offer to you what I learned. So the significance of a rainbow varies amongst different Indigenous cultures, but it is often seen as a powerful spiritual symbol. And here's a few of some of the most common meanings amongst Indigenous communities. So it's a bridge between worlds. Many Indigenous groups, such as the Navajo or the Dene, see the rainbow as a bridge connecting the physical and the spiritual realms. It is sometimes viewed as a path for spirits to, gives a path for spirits as a means of communication with ancestors and deities. 2, it balances harmony. The rainbow's colors represent diversity, unity, and the balance of all things in nature. Some Indigenous teachings highlight the importance of living in harmony with the earth, recognizing the interconnectedness of all life. 3 is prophecy and change. The rainbow prophecy, so that's in quotations, the rainbow prophecy, often associated with the Hopi and other Indigenous traditions, speaks of a time when people of all races will come together to heal the earth, guided by wisdom and knowledge keepers. The rainbow warriors, also in quotation, the rainbow warriors symbolize those who protect and restore balance to nature. Number 4, blessings and good fortune. For many Indigenous nations, rainbows are considered a sign of blessings, abundance, and renewal, often appearing after storms to signal hope and new beginnings. 5, protection and ceremony. For some cultures, they believe the rainbow holds protective powers. In certain ceremonies, it may be invoked for guidance, for strength, and for positive transformation. Each Indigenous culture has its own interpretation of the rainbow's meanings, it can be deeply rooted in their spiritual traditions and relationships with nature. So when I think about this and relationships with rainbows and nature, certainly I miss seeing a rainbow with my own eyes after my vision loss, but I can still channel it in my mind. And the other day when it was kind of sprinkling down and I was standing in the rain, doing my privileged thing, as we do in this world, waiting for a car to pick me up, I decided to put away my umbrella and let the rain fall on me. And I sat there with my eyes closed and I just thought about rainbows. And it kind of made my day. It didn't matter that I was getting wet. It kind of made my day. So there you are. That's what I'm offering today, what I learned about rainbows. And today is Wednesday, March the 19th, 2025. And tonight we're proud to offer you our Almost Live event number 176, Shamrocks and Shenanigans. This is a St. Patrick's Day smorgasbord. Now, of course, we are just 2 days off of St. Patrick's Day, which happened on Monday the 17th. Our special guest in the space tonight is Eileen Barrett. Come on in, my lovely friend Eileen.
So hang on a second. Yeah, we have the technology. There we go. Hi, Amy. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Eileen. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. I love what you said about rainbows and letting the rain fall down on you.
I enjoyed that so much.
Mm-hmm.
We're often so like not afraid of the rain, but you can't get wet because we got a place to go. And I'm guilty of that too. I do that, right? And I just thought, it's not raining that hard. What's the big deal?
Sometimes it feels like like a lovely mist.
Yeah. So I just sat. I didn't sit there. I just stood there on my driveway and waited. And I just thought, this is really nice.
Yeah.
Do this.
Yeah. Some good rain. Yeah.
I love the smell of rain. I love the sound of rain. I love the smell of rain. And we just often look at it as inconvenient.
There's that wonderful word petrichor for the smell of the earth after it has been dry for a while and it rains. And that smell is called petrichor. Oh, I just look forward to that when that happens.
Oh, you just taught me a new word. Which is why I love having you in the space.
Oh.
I always learn something from you, whether it's relevant to what we're talking about or not. Petrichor.
Well, I just love words, all kinds of words. Yeah, all different languages. I am fortunate enough to be speaking to you from what is known colonially as Salt Spring Island, home of the Halkominum and Sinkotan speaking people since time immemorial. So I feel very, very fortunate to be here in this beautiful place.
And for folks who aren't familiar with British Columbia, or maybe who are and don't know where Salt Spring is?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Salt Spring Island is one of the what's called one of the lower Gulf Islands. So it's pretty much just a neighbor to Victoria, which is our capital city on the big island, Vancouver Island. So Salt Spring is just a spitting distance away. Let me put it in terms of wildlife. It's short enough that a black bear can get from Vancouver Island and swim over to Salt Spring Island, although there aren't usually bears here. There can occasionally be. But since there are no natural predators on the island as well, too, there's deer plenty and birds. And we've been being kept awake by the sound of the northwest tree frogs that are looking for love. So we're on a place that's got a great big pond, and that's where
it's mating season.
It's mating season. It's quite wonderful. Yeah.
Very cool.
The little green guys, tiny green guys.
Little tiny ones that are like the size of a quarter?
Exactly. Yeah. But can they sing. They're also known as chorus frogs, and they keep it's very sweet. I have friends who are in the Vancouver Men's Chorus, and I keep thinking of them as frogs.
I'm sure they love that. Actually, probably do.
Yeah. But little green things is really appropriate for tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of is. I like that. Cool beans. I've never been to Salt Spring. Maybe one day I'll get there. Especially as we're encouraged to travel within Canada, if you're Canadian at this time, to travel.
I think all are welcome here.
All are welcome here. We're not turning anybody away.
Yeah.
But I don't have any plans to travel anywhere because I don't
Mm-hmm.
have time to go
You're
anywhere. So
busy.
I'm busy, but
You're busy.
I'm busy
Mm-hmm.
of my own making, so we'll leave it at that. So we've got shamrocks and shenanigans tonight, Eileen. So we thought what we would do is we would put together some interesting stuff about St. Paddy's Day, and maybe debunk some myths, maybe play a few games, maybe share a little folklore,
Mm-hmm.
a little tradition. So it's truly a smorgasbord, a little bit like what we do with our holiday episodes. We hope that people will interact with us when we get to that point in our. So this is I'm laying the foundation, folks, that we would
Right.
like you to interact when we ask you to interact. Um, and it most definitely might be worth your while to do so. We'll just say that. But where are we going to start off? We're starting off with leprechauns, are we not?
I believe we are starting off with, yeah, little the wee folk.
The wee folk.
Um, what's that?
The wee folk.
The
Yeah.
wee folk, the wee folk. I have a friend who's from the Northern Ireland, as opposed to the Republic of Ireland, and she said, "Oh God, we put wee in front of everything, like a wee rope, a wee this, a wee that." I thought my other people, the Scots, were the ones who did that, but they said no, Northern Irelanders in front of everything. So the wee folk, that very definitely are a thing. Now, the very first, now we're going to debunk some things about leprechauns.
Okay.
So put away any thoughts of Lucky Charms and all of those kinds of things, because they're a little edgier than that. Now, the very first appearance of leprechauns was in a medieval story, the Saga of Fergus MacLeity. They're a bit different from what we're used to. These first leprechauns, they're water sprites. When they are seized by King Fergus MacLeity after attempting to drag him into the sea, they begin bartering for their lives, and their leprechaunishness starts to shine through. These leprechauns grant the king 3 wishes in exchange for their freedom, but they also leave the king with a warning to stay out of the waters of Loch Rudrich, which in modern day is Dundrum Bay, because beneath these waters is the location of their fairy home. A home that is guarded by the great Irish sea monster known as the murderess. So you don't want to be messing with them. They're not, there's no pot of gold here. In Irish folklore, leprechauns are definitely closer to the movie murderer variety end of the spectrum as opposed to the serial mascot end. Short, wizened, decrepit, dressed in outdated clothes. That's the general description. Or as the book Irish Wonders, an 1888 book, would say, the leprechaun is of diminutive size, about 3 feet high,
Oh,
dressed
sorry,
in.
Eileen. Before I interrupt you,
Yep.
do we want to bring up the picture?
Oh,
Let's bring
yeah.
up Rick. Let's bring up the picture of the leprechaun
Okay.
as you're describing it.
Oh,
Okay.
there he is.
There he is.
Okay. Right. He's about 3 feet high, dressed in a little red jacket with red breeches buckled at the knee, gray or black stockings, and a hat cocked in the style of a century ago. So they mean in the 1700s, because this was written in the 1800s, over a little old withered face. And this author goes on to specify that leprechaun will typically wear an Elizabethan ruff. So one of those big starched stand-up ruffs around his neck, frills of lace at the wrists, with the exception being, of course, there have to be regional exceptions, on the Wild West Coast, where he dispenses with ruffs and frills and wears an overcoat over his pretty red suit, so that unless on the lookout for a cocked hat, you might pass the leprechaun on the road and never know it's himself that's in it at all. So there you go. Now, as you might have noticed, one color keeps popping up again and again, and it's not green, it's red. And this aligns with what the famous Irish writer and folklorist William Butler Yeats said, that because he divided the fairy folk up into different types, the trooping fairies, the ones that hang out together, wear green jackets, and the solitary ones wear red. So as a solitary fairy, the leprechaun has essentially a uniform that is red by default. And in some areas of Ireland, his uniform is actually a military uniform. Who knew? Modern leprechauns are almost always decked out in green. And this is probably just an easy shorthand to identify them as Irish as opposed to just an elf. So you just want to make sure that, people go, no, that's ours. He's Irish. So we're going to make him green. Only one solitary fairy from Irish folklore is known to wear the color green naturally, and that's just the vest part. And it isn't a leprechaun, it's the leprechaun's drunken cousin called the clurichaun. Both of them are short, solitary fairies, renowned for their shoe mending and mischievousness. But while leprechauns live in secluded places and obsess over treasure hoarding, clurichauns live in wine cellars and obsess over drinking all the alcohol they can find. The clurichaun is one that's left the comfort of his secluded home and goes on an eternal bender in someone's basement. And here's how the author of The Festivities at the House of Conan described a clurichaun. He's a jolly red-faced, drunken little fellow, was ever found in the cellars of the debauchee, Bacchus-like, astride of the wine butt, with a brimful tankard in hand, drinking and singing away merrily. Any wine cellar known to be haunted by this sprite was doomed to bring its owner to speedy ruin. Okay, so that's your difference between your leprechaun and your clurichaun. So the leprechaun is said to be a solitary creature, and his principal occupation is making and cobbling shoes. But some people say that, no, he's just actually mending his own shoes. But some say, well, it could be a professional cobbler. Who's going to dispute you either way? Enjoys practical jokes. Is frequently seen mending the shoes because he runs about so much he wears them out. And this is the perfect opportunity, when he's mending his shoes, for a human being to capture the leprechaun, refusing to release him until he gives his captor supernatural wealth. Now, one kind of slightly nasty thing I heard in one of the tales that I was reading about, if the leprechaun tells the captor, the first person, the location of where the gold is, and then that person goes on and tells a second person where it is, that first person will die. And the gold will then be turned into a tree. So you don't want to mess with them. Yeah. They only engage in pranks on the level of mischief. And they do require special caution when dealing with them, but they're neither wholly good nor wholly bad, apparently. Yeah.
Did you know, I didn't know this, and I don't know what this looks like, but school-aged kids, like primary school.
Yes.
Like when you make Valentine's cards and things like that on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
On St. Patrick's Day in America and probably Canada, make something called a leprechaun trap.
Oh, and what form does that take?
I don't know.
A leprechaun?
I don't know. And I thought that was super interesting, and I just didn't have time to look it up. And I thought, I wonder if Eileen has heard of this before.
I've not heard of a leprechaun
Your kids
trap.
are younger than I am, and you got nephews that are young, but they're probably a little too young.
Right. I never heard my kids mention a leprechaun trap. When I was growing up at my primary school, our principal was very Irish, and he would come into every primary classroom and he would do the magic disappearing leprechaun. It was just a paper thing that he would hold up, and he would you would all have to count them. And then he'd just do this thing and he'd move it around from one side to the other and say, well, they've danced their way over to this side, and you'd count them again. And suddenly one had disappeared. And he said, oh, no, you got to keep your eye on them because, they'll just disappear. And we were all, every year he would do it. And every year none of us could figure out how he did it. So I had not heard of the trap, but certainly the magic disappearing leprechaun. Yeah.
Bless. Well, when we get to our time at the end of all the things we planned for tonight, if anybody here knows what that a leprechaun trap is, let us know, but not now. Just hold on to that, because we got a format here that we're doing. So if you know, let us know.
Do you want to hear any more about the other fairies?
Hang on to it for now, Eileen. Let's I know you've got a lot, but let's
okay.
you've got a lot.
It'll come up. Talking.
It'll come up again. You are our research, I don't know, what's the word?
Pedant.
Another word I don't know. I am a not so smart person because I don't do as much
You do.
research as
Of
you
course you
do.
are.
Um, I'm a humble person with a humble vocabulary. I learned a joke though. Well,
Oh
it's a
yeah.
riddle. It's a leprechaun riddle. Okay, here it goes. Eileen,
Yes.
why can you never borrow money from a leprechaun?
I don't know, Amy. Why can you never borrow money from a leprechaun?
Because they're always a little short.
I think that would work well for me too, because I'm always a little short.
Why can you never borrow money from Eileen? Because
'Cause
she's
she's
always a little short.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that.
There
That's
you
a
go.
very gentle one. I like that one.
That's my first Irish riddle of the night. Always
That's
a little
really
short.
good.
Okay, so what have we got coming up next? We've got this debunking St. Patrick's Day documentary.
Or a celebration of his life.
Or a celebration of his life. Or telling the truth. I don't know what this is, but you're gonna front load some of this for us.
Yeah. So, as you may or may not know, he wasn't actually originally from Ireland. He was, because the Romans at that time were still in Britain, and Ireland wasn't a part of Britain then. So I think he was either, Welsh or maybe Scots or whatever, just because geographically at that time everything was in flux, but definitely more sort of a, kind of Roman sort of family. And then was taken hostage pretty much and sold into slavery, as our wonderful narrator for this film, who just happens to be Liam Neeson, Be
Yeah.
Still Me Heart,
Yeah.
and will feature the voice of Gabriel Byrne, another wonderful actor from Miller's Crossing, The Name of the Father. He's got a very, very storied career, but anyway, those are a couple of the biggies. He will be the voice of Patrick, who is actually in Irish would be Padraig, which is why you never say St. Patty's Day, you say St. Patty's Day, because it would be Padraig
With the
in
with the P
Irish.
sound. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this is a lovely film that uses reenactments for the action. So really anything that, is going on in the background is pretty pictures of him, tramping through the hills and looking very soulful and wondering what God is saying to him, and going across the ocean. But the voiceover pretty much tells you exactly what is going on in terms of the way that the story is laid out. It's very much storytelling, but you will hear in the background occasionally, the sounds of sheep or oars going through water, or folks in the background milling about, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's very much kind of reenactments and things that are, yeah.
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 There's nothing that's there's no historical footage or anything like that.
Nothing like that, even in terms of, things that would be called illuminated texts,
Yeah.
there's nothing really there that's of any written down things. There's some wonderful voices you will hear of the experts, and I quite love them. And so I think in order of speaking, you'll hear, oh, I do love these names. Sister Mare Brid de Peor of the Presentation Sisters of Northern Ireland. She's a nun and a scholar, and you will hear her voice first. And then, if any of you are familiar with the book Angela's Ashes, Frank McCourt, who is a famously dry and acerbic Irish author, also has lived a lot of years in the United States as well too. He is the second speaker. And then Philip Freeman, you easily identify because he's an American extensive career biographer, academic writer of over 20 books. And if you're familiar with the actor Bob Balaban, he sounds a lot like him. So Philip Freeman, a very, very learned man. He's the third speaker. And then Padraigan Clancy, she is an Irish folklorist, and to this day, she's also a guide. So if you happen to be lucky enough to go to Ireland, she can take you around cairns and burial mounds and things, where where St. Patrick actually was. And so she's still alive. So that's and then our final expert and speaker is Father Brendan Devlin, an Irish language scholar and priest from Maynooth College, and he has quite a distinctive Northern Irish accent. So if you're wondering, why does he sound a little bit different? That he definitely, he's from Northern Ireland. So those are the 5 speakers that you'll hear. And quite often, you don't even, I mean, for those of us who have vision, they're not even like featured as a face. Sometimes they are, but they are quite often just speaking as the story's going along. So the story does cut in and out between Liam Neeson's narration of the story, so storytelling, and then it'll leap out and we'll be given a factoid, historical factoid, and then we'll go back into the story. But you're not going to miss a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back and talk about it afterwards. This is about 45 minutes long. They should have just done it in a podcast because it would have been easier and better. But people.
Yeah, like I said to you, Amy, it reminded me of the CBC documentary program Ideas that's on the radio, because it's just like that.
It's quite accessible. So kudos to Eileen for finding this one. And
I just love Liam Neeson, that's all.
Yeah, and vetting it as low vision friendly for us tonight. So let's have a listen to this for 45 minutes. It'll be the 3rd time I've listened to it, just because I like it so much. And of course, Liam Neeson, who can't listen to Liam Neeson all day long. And I like Gabriel Byrne too. He was one of my all-time favorites.
Me too.
I can't even remember where I first saw him and what I first saw him in, but I just, from that moment, I was like, yep, I like you. Whatever you're in, I'll watch. So this one's just called Patrick, isn't it?
Mm-hmm, it is.
Yeah.
To be sure.
Okay, well, let's let Rick hit play on Patrick, and we'll see y'all back here in about 45 minutes.
Sounds good.
Most of the world knows him as the Irish saint who banished the snakes. But he wasn't Irish, and there were no snakes in Ireland. The true story of St. Patrick is of a fugitive slave running for his life. A visionary mystic. A radical priest fighting for his mission. An outcast beloved by a nation. In his wake, 2 worlds collide, and one is transformed forever.
I am Patrick, a sinner, the least of all the faithful and utterly despised by many. Although I am imperfect in many things, I nevertheless wish that my brethren and kinsmen should know what sort of person I am.
His story begins not in Ireland, but in Britain, at the westernmost edge of the Roman Empire. Patrick was born in the town of Banavem at the close of the 4th century.
He was by culture a Roman, and that meant that he was a product of a highly organized civilization, the most organized civilization in ancient times.
Patrick was the son of a Roman nobleman, so he grew up in a household of wealth. He would have been waited on, and he would have seen that as a very normal form of life.
It was a way of life that would not endure. Christianity had become the empire's official religion, but Patrick was one of many who strayed.
We turned away from God and did not keep his commandments and did not obey our priests.
He didn't practice, he said. We didn't listen to our clergy who warned us about our salvation.
The walls of Banavem could not protect Patrick from the forces that lurked beyond. His life of ease and comfort would come to an end in a brutal twist of fate.
It was violent and merciless and quick. They just dashed in, killed many of the servants, and took the ones they thought would be valuable. They didn't kill those, and they dumped them into the boats.
At the age of 16, Patrick was kidnapped by the most fearsome barbarians of their day, Irish slave traders.
The Irish raiders were professionals. They were out to make money, to kidnap slaves and to sell them back in Ireland.
For Patrick and the others taken that day, the voyage west was like falling off the edge of the earth. Protected by a treacherous sea, Ireland had never been conquered by mighty Rome. Its sheer cliffs kept at bay all but the most fearless pirates and slave traders.
They knew the route along the southern coast and up into the west coast of Ireland. And then what they did was they sold the slaves all along the coastline to people who were interested in buying them.
Patrick knew his fate. Nobody escaped from Ireland. Nobody ever made it back to Britain.
He thought he'd never again see home. Everything was gone. Now he was a slave.
The Irish were a fighting people. They were always fighting. There was no united Ireland. There was a high king who paid attention to him beyond 10 miles beyond his palace. They never did, they still don't.
We know from Irish stories that they engaged in headhunting, that they prized bravery and fierceness in battle.
The more heads you could cut off as a warrior, the better. The soul was believed to be contained within the head. So to take the head of your enemy was literally to almost take their soul.
The Lord brought over us the wrath of his anger and scattered us among the many nations, even unto the utmost part of the earth, where now my littleness is placed among strangers.
Patrick's savage captors sold him to the chieftain of a remote Irish realm.
One can only guess at the shocking transformation it must have been from a well-organized, reasonably quiet life to something that bore no resemblance at all to anything that he had been used to. This is what is the measure of the man. Many a human being would have collapsed, psychologically collapsed, just to cast off in the lowest strata of society. Patrick didn't. Patrick survived.
But his life as a slave and outcast had just begun. Darker days lay ahead. Patrick's master sent his miserable young slave to the mountains to tend his flock. The stony pasture became Patrick's prison, the sheep his only companions.
He was terribly lonely and despairing and totally helpless, stripped down.
As the months turned into years, Patrick lost all hope of ever going home again. He faced his hunger and his terror alone.
The amazing thing is how he survived it all. But it's perfectly clear that he was thrown back on the only stable and powerful influence in his life, which was his Christian religion. He turned to his Christian God.
I would pray constantly through snow, frost, rain.
He says he would pray up to 100 times a day, and as often again during the night.
Something happens to you when you're alone like that. You develop such a relationship with nature, and nature's clouds and movement and the mystical Irish landscape. It has a huge effect on you.
The love of God and his fear came to me more and more, and my faith was strengthened.
It was what we now call a conversion. And religious conversions can be very powerful things. We don't have to quote Paul on the road to Damascus.
In no case, Moses, Paul, Patrick, did this conversion come about as an act of choice. It is forcefully done to the converted man.
Before I was humbled, I was like a stone, lying in deep mud. But he that is mighty came, and in his mercy raised me aloft.
It was in the midst of prayer that Patrick's transformation began.
I heard a voice saying to me, "It is well that you fast. Soon you will go to your own country."
Soon you will go to your own country. How could he go to his own country as a slave? How could he get out of Ireland? Where would he go?
And again, after a short while, I heard a voice saying to me, "Behold, your ship awaits you." It was not near, but a distance of perhaps 200 miles. I had never been there, nor did I know a living soul there.
Patrick knew that the Irish put runaway slaves to death. Nevertheless, he began his escape.
I took flight and left those with whom I had stayed for 6 years.
A slave who escapes is actually breaking the law, and anybody who provides him with any kind of protection in the process is also in breach of the law.
It was an awesome journey. He was coming from the northwestern part of Ireland, and he had to journey across the entire island. He had to avoid any sorts of settlements. He may have traveled at night, anything to avoid attention.
I went in the strength of God, who directed my way to my good, and I feared nothing.
He had learned to trust in God in a way that's unimaginable to most people.
His trust was well placed, for at last, Patrick found the ship the voice had promised.
Patrick says that he wasn't afraid until the very end of it when he came to a ship, because this was the real moment of truth. He had to reveal himself as a runaway Irish slave.
Patrick approached the ship's crew as they prepared to set sail. He begged them to take him aboard.
The ship captain wasn't going to have him. But he doesn't give up because he's had this dream. It says you're going to get home.
I left them, and as I went, I began to pray. And before I had ended my prayer, I heard one of them shouting behind me, "Come, hurry, we shall take you on in good faith." I believe that his spirit even then was crying out in my behalf. And so it came to pass, and we set sail at once.
The voice had led Patrick out of slavery, and now it was bringing him home.
And it's the fulfillment of that promise in a dream that sets him on the way. Something big is happening to this person.
At the dawn of the 5th century, after 6 years of bondage, Patrick found his way home to Banavem.
Nobody had ever escaped from Ireland. It was like somebody returning from the land of the dead.
The whole town celebrated Patrick's return.
You think you're never going to see him again. That's it. So can you imagine the huge joy when he returns home?
At last, I was in Britain with my people, who received me as their son.
But Patrick's joy was short-lived. Roman Britain no longer felt like home.
Even after his return to civilization and his life of relative, at least, ease, the Irish kept bugging Patrick. They just didn't get out of his mind. Because in their midst, in spite of all that he had endured among them, he had found what was to be the overwhelming power of his entire life.
As he recovered from his enslavement and escape, Patrick heard the voice again. One night, in a vision, an Irishman came to him and handed him a scroll.
I read the opening words of the letter, which were, "The voice of the Irish." But at the same moment, I heard voices from the Western Sea cry out, "We ask thee, holy boy, come and walk among us once more."
The voice of the Irish. Come back to us. He knew the import of that. He knew that he was being called back.
I was broken in heart. Why I should ever return to the people from whom once before I barely escaped.
And it took him time to really get resigned to the idea. The voice of God was speaking again.
He saw himself as directed by the Lord God Almighty. Get back to these people and offer them what he had and they hadn't.
To preach among the Irish, Patrick knew he must first make up for the years of schooling his enslavement had cost him. He donned clerical robes and trained for the priesthood. But his lack of learning haunted him.
I had in mind to write, but hesitated until now, afraid of exposing myself. I had not studied like the others, who had thoroughly imbibed law and sacred scripture.
He doesn't have the formal training in rhetoric, and he knows, he starts out by telling us that, and that he's almost embarrassed by his lack of learning.
His insecurity isolated him, and his resolve to evangelize among the pagan Irish set him at odds with his superiors.
This was the first time anybody had even contemplated bringing these savages, as the word in modern English that corresponds to barbarian, into the Christian fold.
Many tried to prevent my mission. They would say, why does this fellow want to throw himself into danger among enemies who have no knowledge of God?
But Patrick's will was unshakable. After decades of struggle, he proceeded from deacon to priest. At last, a skeptical church made him a bishop and allowed him to return to Ireland.
And the bishops weren't a bit keen on this. But they did realize and see that Patrick was being led by the Spirit.
The few Christians who had ventured into Ireland before Patrick fled in the face of violence and scorn.
You definitely know that this guy has had an extraordinary experience of God. And that's what drives him on. It gives him the courage to go on his mission.
He was the first person ever to contemplate evangelizing a whole nation. And that was a very imaginative, radical, revolutionary departure.
I did not go to Ireland of my own accord. The Lord made me fit that I should care and labor for the salvation of others.
Standing for the last time on Britain's coast, Patrick gazed into an uncertain future. In the year 432, Patrick sailed back to the land of his captivity to embark on a mission no one else thought possible.
99.9% of human beings go with the flow. And it's only here and there in history that somebody emerges right against the current, faces a completely new world, and finds the resources to do it.
It was unheard of for anybody to step outside the Roman Empire and preach the gospel. They didn't even preach it within the Roman Empire, except in the cities.
You don't send out an individual, you don't even send out a group of individuals to a pagan place where Christianity has never been seen before. It's too dangerous. You'll be parted from your head pretty rapidly, and Patrick himself realized that.
I must make this choice, regardless of danger. I must make known the gift of God without fear.
Patrick returned to a pagan world of strife and peril. Few men could traverse Ireland alone and unprotected and hope to survive.
Can you imagine somebody who's been in bondage wanting to go back to convert the owners, his former masters? This is the big mystery about Patrick. What brought him back to Ireland? You'd think he would have had his fill of it, but back he went.
Greedy kings and warring tribes had carved the land into a multitude of fiefdoms. What saved Patrick's life was his generosity and the language he had learned as a slave.
He knew how things worked. He knew that it was a society of gift-giving. He would have brought something valuable in order for the king to give at least his protection.
So he knew that he would have to get in with the king before he'd be accepted. He wasn't more than minding sheep and cattle and all the rest of it. He learned the lie of the land.
Having obtained safe passage, it now fell to Patrick to persuade the Irish to give up their traditional beliefs. Their ancient gods and goddesses embodied the elemental forces of nature. They were all-powerful and had held sway over the Irish for more than 1,000 years.
The Irish had never even thought about the idea of a single deity before. So that was his first hurdle, to say to the Irish people that there really is a God.
And he knew that if he was going to present this new faith, it had to be presented in ways that would be acceptable to the people he was trying to bring on board.
The landscape teemed with the spirits of Celtic deities, imbuing Ireland's rivers and lakes with special magic.
Water is always seen in our folklore as threshold place. The river is the place between this world and the other world. It's an in-between place. It's a place where you meet the fairy world.
When Patrick led the Irish to their rivers to meet his God, they followed, for water to them was sacred.
He has learned how to insinuate new ideas into an existing structure.
He did not scorn their traditions, but merged them into his own faith. He introduced the Irish to a loving and merciful God, and to the ideal of selflessness through the stories he told about Jesus.
He must have done a good job of presenting Jesus. This man who wandered around was crucified. They must have liked that. They must have been intrigued by the idea of somebody sacrificing himself. And there was Patrick sacrificing himself.
I have set thee as a light unto the utmost part of the earth. It is there that I wish to spend my life.
Patrick set out to provide his newfound countrymen with the precious gift of literacy.
This will be my glory. For a wise son is the glory of his father.
He must have been a hell of a teacher. I think he was good-humoured. You had to be good-humoured, otherwise you wouldn't get by in Ireland. If you got to Ireland all pompous and solemn-faced, they'll quickly tell you, go and sit in the corner. To refuse that man a pint.
To spread the word of God, Patrick preached to the Irish not as the church had taught him, but as the Irish demanded.
He's unique in the history of the church. Not alone did he leave the Roman Empire to preach the gospel, but he preached the gospel not in Latin, but in good Mayo Irish. Because the Irish people didn't give two hoots about Latin or the Roman Empire. They knew their own language and their own culture, and they were very proud of it. And if Patrick couldn't speak to them in their own language, they.
And he must have been very eloquent and persuasive. Patrick converted practically a whole nation in an Ireland that at that time was not friendly to strangers.
This success which he enjoyed in Ireland prompted some jealousy among the churchmen of Britain. He was being observed.
Somebody is finding fault with him all the time, either because of the little things he's doing, or maybe even bigger still, there are those who say he shouldn't be there at all.
Little did Patrick know that in his triumph lay the seeds of his greatest crisis.
Rather than rejoicing in the good effect that a whole new world was being introduced to Christianity, these people were simply interested in destroying the mission.
There was a tribunal of inquiry set up. There were complaints made against him.
The bishop summoned Patrick back to Britain to face their charges as if he were a criminal. The most shocking accusation came from his closest friend.
His best friend stood up and told a sin that Patrick had committed as a young boy.
Though Patrick never recorded his boyhood sin, some still wonder if it was debauchery, thievery, or worse.
We know that it troubled his conscience severely, and he felt the need to confess it.
The man to whom Patrick confessed had once been his staunchest supporter.
Now that man was bound never to repeat that. And the awful thing was that this man came out and told this sin before the whole tribunal.
To him I had confided my very soul. He let me down before all.
This sin was used as a pretense by the bishops of Britain to try to get him kicked out of Ireland.
When I was accused on that day, was I struck so that I might have fallen now and for eternity?
Here are his people degrading him. It was a big shock.
And Patrick was crushed under the heel, as he said.
He sank into such a depth of despair and depression that he didn't think that he was ever going to get out of it.
He nearly lost the faith.
Never permit it to happen to me that I should lose his people in the utmost parts of the world. I pray to God to give me perseverance. Saying to me, "We are very angry that my chosen one has been criticized." The voice didn't say, "You are angry," but "We are angry," as if God were speaking for both of us.
The voice that had led him out of bondage now restored to him his renegade spirit. In a personal testament to his life and mission, he flatly refused the bishop's summons.
Bishop Frolic, Paddy.
I am Patrick, a sinner, most unlearned, the least of all the faithful and utterly despised.
Declaring his innocence, Patrick told the story of his life in language that was direct and heartfelt.
Let those who will laugh and scorn. I shall not be silent.
He had character. He wasn't going to be put down by anything. Nothing put down Patrick.
I cannot hide God's gift, which he bestowed upon me in the land of my captivity.
Through his story, he offered a song in praise of God and his creation.
There I sought him, and there I found him, and he saved me from all evil.
His mission is driven by his faith experience, and they don't get that. And they ought to get that, if they're men of faith.
You men of letters, listen and pore over this. Who was it that roused me up, the fool that I am? He inspired me, the outcast of this world, to faithfully serve the people for the duration of my life. This is my confession before I die.
Shaken by the force of his testament, the bishops backed down. For the rest of his life, Patrick of Ireland continued to minister to his adopted people. And the Irish rewarded him with their love. Patrick's death in the mid-5th century, Western Europe was in chaos. The Roman Empire was burning at the hands of barbarians. The Dark Ages were about to descend upon all of Europe. But the Irish church Patrick founded continued to flourish. All over Ireland, his followers raised stone crosses 3 men high, announcing the success of the new faith. They were not gravestones, but illustrations of biblical stories that even the illiterate could understand. Ireland became the principal center of not only piety, but of knowledge. During the Dark Ages, literacy survived only in monasteries, and the Irish clergy became the luminaries of the Western world.
People came in from Europe and in from Britain and came in. There were thousands of people coming to school here in the, after Patrick's time.
Fugitive scholars from all over Europe saved ancient texts from the barbarians and smuggled them into Ireland. They turned its monasteries into the storehouses of the great works of Western literature and the birthplace of a new Europe.
The Irish invented European civilization. And while they're doing it, they do a number of other extraordinary things. Invent everything that you and I take for granted on a printed page.
They were the first to separate words one from the other. Up to that, words were all stuck together. The Irish separated words.
And they developed ideas like paragraphs and the difference between uppercase and lowercase, and it was just this huge explosion of creative activity.
Irish monks copied and illuminated the classical works of Western civilization. The most glorious of these manuscripts, the Book of Kells, depicts the 4 Gospels. The monks who created it included whimsical allusions to monastic life, along with their own caricatured self-portraits. These pages honor their warmth and humanity and their playful sense of humor. The Book of Kells intertwines Christian and Celtic imagery, uniting Patrick's Ireland with its pre-Christian past. This celebration of what was beautiful in both cultures is a testament to Patrick's genius, which brought the two together in a loving embrace.
7th century legend produced a Patrick, which is really the Patrick that most of us know.
Well, the church is trying to make him a standard bishop by dressing him up with mitre and sceptre, more or less, as a standard continental-style Orthodox bishop would be.
An ambitious Irish church seized Patrick's legacy. They circulated among the faithful fables and miracles chronicled by Murahu, Patrick's first official biographer. One of the most famous legends describes Patrick's triumph atop the Hill of Slain, where he lit the first Easter fire on a sacred pagan holiday. When the furious king retaliated, Patrick made himself and his retinue disappear.
They weren't trying to be deceptive and trying to make up imaginary stories about Patrick, but Patrick to them was a hero, and they wanted their hero to have the same quality as all of the other great Christian saints and be able to work miracles and to do wonderful things.
St. Patrick was said to have chased all the snakes out of Ireland, and though he did rid Ireland of the serpentine spirit of paganism, there had not been a snake in Ireland since the Ice Age. Irish folklore married the familiar three-leafed shamrock to Patrick's tail. Legend claims he used this sacred plant of the Druids to explain the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
We don't have any good evidence that Patrick ever used a shamrock in his explanations of the Trinity. He might have, but we just don't know.
But Patrick's life was legend and miracle enough. He electrified people with his teachings, and he still inspires thousands to journey across Ireland to pay him homage. Down Cathedral in County Down claims to be Patrick's final resting place. But so does Seoul, where Patrick is said to have founded his first church. Croagh Patrick in County Mayo marks the spot where legend claims Patrick spent 40 days and nights communing with God and banishing the demons. For hundreds of years, pilgrims have climbed the mountain as an act of penance. On the last Sunday in July, thousands still ascend the mountain to honor Ireland's most famous saint.
I suppose wherever the Irish went, they brought him with them, this figure of St. Patrick. And I assume that the great St. Patrick's Day parade on the 17th of March is a direct descendant of that.
The first St. Patrick's Day parade was organized by homesick Irish immigrants in America. Over 200 years ago, on the traditional anniversary of St. Patrick's death, Irish soldiers in the colonial army marched through the streets of New York to pay Patrick loving and joyful tribute. Today, on March 17th, in cities around the world, more than 50 million people gather. Both Irish and not, they celebrate St. Patrick with annual parades and festivities he could never have imagined.
If Patrick were to come back and somebody were to say, I have a little balcony here on Fifth Avenue, I want to see this parade, he'd jump off the balcony and say, stop! This is not what I was preaching at all. Now disperse, go home and pray and help the poor.
What is striking about Patrick is that he is the only citizen of the Roman Empire to have been taken captive, to have been taken away from kith and kin, from home and hearth, to have lived in that place for 6 years. To have escaped from it. To have written his experiences, and for those experiences to have survived. There's nothing like it anywhere in the world. Not just in terms of Irish history. This guy is absolutely exceptional.
So we have seen it, and so it has been fulfilled. However ignorant I was, I dared to preach his gospel for a testimony to all nations. I pray whosoever deigns to look at this writing, which Patrick, the sinner, has composed in Ireland, let this be your conclusion. It was the gift of God.
Okay, friends, we are back. That was the documentary Patrick.
Very dramatic, wasn't it?
Yeah. Can we call that a documentary?
Biopic?
Biopic? Yeah.
Yeah.
Biopic? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of interesting stuff in there.
I love the stuff about that they came up with separating the words.
I know. Paragraphs and syllables and
yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. All sorts of things you can learn from. I mean, this is why I like this kind of, style of documentary or biopic or, and anytime they're on TV, I think, I'm sure I can make it through this because it's mostly dialogue based.
Yeah. It's not dry. It's like a story.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing that a picture shows that I'm not getting unless they put up big, phrases on the screen, which is like, in the last 200 years, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, thanks. I can't read that, but none of that exists in this. So that's awesome.
I think one of my favorite quotes from this is, I love Frank McCourt. You could do, because he's just so dry and so acerbic. And he says, if you'd said that to an Irish person, they'd say, go sit in the corner and refuse that man a pint. That's just the perfect way to sum it up, right? You're not going to BS an Irish person. Go speak to them in their own language, and they're not going to pay any attention to you.
That's awesome.
Refuse that man a pint. I think I'm going to use that.
Use that man a pint. I have to brush up on my Irish.
Oh.
We might have a little. Some of that. We might have a little some of that.
Be sure.
Eileen, where are we going next? We are going to. Well, we thought we would touch on a little bit of Irish dance, and I don't want to spend too long on this. Not because I don't think it's important, but because there's a lot of stuff to get through. But before we go to Irish dance, maybe let's play a little Irish traditional music. So here's where I'm going to ask you to do some quick description, but also going to tell folks that we're going to play some sounds of Irish pipes. And you either love them or you hate them. So that's what's coming up. So if you hate them, turn your volume down. And if you love them, I love them, pipe that volume up. So Eileen, what's the difference between Irish pipes and Scottish pipes?
Well, this is another thing. So the Irish pipes, or this particular type called the Uilleann pipes, you don't have to blow into them, which I think is brilliant. There's a bellows that the player holds on their side, and it's got a little. The stopper works with your elbow, which I guess in Irish is the Uilleann, which is why it's called that. So it's like the elbow pipe. And so you inflate this bellows, and that forces the air through into the chantor, which is the part that the person fingers, and then it comes out the pipes. So there's still a big bag, a big bellows, usually made traditionally of animal skin of some sort. These days made of fabric, I'm sure. So that's the main difference, because in the Scots pipes, you got to warm those suckers up, and you got to blow into them and to actually get the bag inflated.
Yeah.
So it produces, I think, a slightly different sound, as we'll probably hear.
Okay. We're going to take a listen to the Uilleann pipes and see if we can pick out the difference next to the Scottish pipes. So Rick, will you play our Uilleann pipes for us?
You are warned.
You're warned.
The Uilleann pipes are a woodwind reed instrument that were developed in around the 1700s. They were called Irish pipes or union pipes, but now today they're more commonly called uilleann pipes because you use your elbow to press the bellows, and the Irish word for elbow. The rudder.
And they've got another cool thing too. He's got the player wears a leather strip on their right thigh, so they can damp the sound coming out of the chantor with that leather strip. So it's really using your body in a terrific way to actually make this instrument work.
It's a full body instrument.
Full body instrument.
It's a full body instrument.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna just play a quick clip of the bagpipes.
Oh,
and see if
my heart.
See if we hear any difference. You want to just describe to us? I know you said that you breathe into them, but they have more pipes coming out of them too, don't they?
Well, there's the four reeds coming out. The chantor goes down the front. You've got to use you do have to use yes, you do have to blow in to the pipe to get the bag inflated, and you've got to regulate that. So it's a bit weird because with a lot of instruments, you're blowing in and the sound and then sound immediately comes out. But you're actually blowing in to inflate the bag, and then you're squishing down the bag and playing the chantor to make the sound come out from the pipes. Generally, a bagpipe is going to be much bigger than an uilleann pipe, and you're going to play it standing up and hopefully marching along to scare off your enemies who are coming over the hill.
That makes sense. All right, Rick, let's listen to some bagpipes.
And in come the drums.
Yeah. So you can hear the difference in how those, like that long sound carries over distances. And I'm guessing, this is just my guess because I'm not a musician, and I'm sure somebody in the room who knows this will correct me if I'm wrong, is that because there takes more work to fill the bag with air, you kind of need to give yourself some time to breathe in and do that again. So you need that sound to be able to sustain itself because you can't blow in fast enough to keep doing that. Whereas opposed to the uilleann pipes,
quite correct.
You don't need to do that.
Yeah. And it's just, and one is a much smaller bag, so I think the uilleann pipes, I could be completely wrong. They're an ideal instrument for dance, for people to accompany to dance and that kind of thing. Whereas, you're gonna you want to hear the skirl of that bagpipe it goes really, really well with the drums, and it's a big sound. It's a big sound. Apparently, the late Queen at Balmoral, there was a piper. His whole job, or her job, was to be under the Queen's bedroom window to pipe her awake every morning.
Oh,
she loved the bagpipes. I think a lot of her family does not love the bagpipes, but she did.
Well, I think she probably got the right to choose however she wanted to be woken up in the morning. There you go. I would be okay with that. My neighbors maybe not so much, but I would be totally fine with that.
Oh, my neighbors don't even like wind chimes, so probably a bagpipe would.
It is on my bucket list to get to Scotland and to England, and I know that this is where your family originates, but I want my family to originate from these areas. I feel such a draw to them that I want my family to be from these.
Oh, you'd be welcome, Amy. You'd be welcome.
Good. Awesome. So, you're talking about the Irish pipes, the Ellen pipes being much more maybe suited to dance. Also used a lot of accordion in traditional Irish dance. So we thought we'd show a short video of Irish dance. Now, Eileen, you're going to describe the dress and the movement of Irish dance, but this is really more about, for me, trying to pick out the sounds of the feet moving to the music, the pattern.
Right. So, and I don't want to be yapping away over top of that. So maybe would you like me,
should I front load it? Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, the whole thing is that
it'll cut out. We won't be able to hear you anyways.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Because there's those wonderful foot beats and things. So the really interesting thing with Irish dance, I saw a comic somewhere that said something about, we found part 2 of the manual that actually had the arms in, but the arms are held right down at the sides. Like the arms do not come up. That's part of the precision of it, is that the arms are held, right to the sides. And then the skirts that are well, on the female identifying dancers are really big and broad, like almost like they're great big pleated skirts that have really sort of intricate designs of trefoils and flowers and leaves and things within the pleats, and then sort of brocaded colors on the outside and quite wide, I think, in contrast with the arms being down at the side. Very fitted bodices, and the skirts themselves are quite short. So the whole reason being so you can see the legs, because it's all about the legs, because the legs are doing leaps and patterns with the feet. And there's a lot, any of the movement is straight up and down to front and back or side to side, but it's very, very precise. So there's not a lot of, like in ballet, extensions and things like that. It's very, it almost, I don't want to say militaristic because it isn't, but it's very much that sort of up and down, side to side, or, very like one direction, backwards, forwards. There's some other really, really interesting specific rules with Irish dance. Once again, if you're a female identifying dancer, you have to have your hair curled. You have to have, I guess that's part of it, is to see that the movement of the springiness of the hair while these people are bobbing up and down as they're dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So in competition dancing, you have to have your hair curled or you'll be sent home to do it. So it's really quite.
I mean, I remember going to school, mostly high school, where dancers would come in with their hair tied in like strips of cloth.
Because they had a competition later on. Yeah. I've had theater students show up with their hair like that, and they say, "Oh yeah, because I've got Irish dance competition later on." So, got to suffer for your art, I guess.
Yep. So
and the shoes. The shoes. The most important thing is the shoes. The shoes look like an overbuilt. Oh, we've got a great question from Pamela. What do you do if your hair is short in a wig? Great question. And I asked this of my students, and that is exactly what you have to do. You have to put a wig on, unless you're under a certain age, and then you can get away with short hair. But that is an excellent question, because you do. You have to put a wig on. I don't know now if they stick, because this was a few years ago, but it's my understanding that you have to put a wig on, just like when you're a ballet dancer and they want your hair scraped back in a bun, and sometimes you have to put a little wiglet on to get that kind of a bun look. It's a great question. Now the shoes look like overbuilt tap shoes, because they've got a type of tap on the bottom of them to make the distinctive pattern sounds, but they're like an Oxford shoe, so a lace-up shoe that's kind of overbuilt in a sort of more kind of round sort of way. The heel is built up a little bit, so it's about an inch and a half, and then quite a very thick sole, and that's once again for this type of competition dancing. With step dancing or with set dancing, which is what people will do in their homes, you can wear whatever the heck you want. I've seen pictures or videos of people set dancing, and you think, you've got a pair of slimbacks on. Mm-hmm. How on earth is this thing on your feet? So with that kind of thing that people would just do in their homes, obviously it's much less. But with competition dancing, you've got to have these little overbuilt Oxfords on to make that sound.
I recall like stark white stockings under the
Yep.
skirts, so that the
Skirts have to be just bum scraping short. Yeah.
yeah, and the white stockings really accentuate the legs down to the black shoes. The shoes were always black.
Yeah, always black.
Always
Yeah.
black, so it's all about the legs. And what I remember from the legs is that they don't bend, they don't move until the knee bends. And so
Yeah.
if you can imagine, like I'm putting my knees together now, and if I cross my knee over the other, it's like that's the thing. I can hop up and down, I can do little movements with my bottom of my feet, but they don't go too far out to the sides. And then the hardest thing for me is to try and bend one foot over the, like one knee over the other. Dance move. And it's like, how do you do that?
Yeah. And I think that, yeah, it's step dancing. It's that's, I think it's all about the precision of the legs. So it gives you one place to look when you're watching Irish dance. That's for sure.
Pretty incredible.
It looks, do you know what it reminds me of, Amy? It reminds me of horses' legs a little bit, the way that they go. Yeah, that kind of movement of
a trot.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're gonna play just a short clip of it, and
this is competition dance, right?
Competition dance, yeah, just to see if we can hear some of these step patterns. So Rick, go ahead and play.
Welcome, please, the Wogan School of Irish Dancing.
So Eileen, do you know when they do these competition dances, if they're all doing the same thing? These ones were all doing, like with like 5 of them, they were all doing the same thing.
I think that I think it's like figure skating, that you've got you've got skills that you've got to show. And once again, if anybody has better knowledge of this than me, there's certain skills that you have to be able to show. But you can have so and so could be doing the Gay Gordons or the Dashing White Sergeant or whatever the piece of music is my understanding, but that you have to be able to show certain skills within that time of that dance that you've got.
Right.
So you've got to show patterns of coming together and and also to the other thing that I noticed with this, of course, they have that ramrod straight posture. You cannot slouch. You've got to have your back has got to be just straight like a board. And these ones actually had knee socks on.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of straight as a board.
Oh, you're good at me.
I know, it's a really bad segue because
that's great.
This is another version of Irish dancing. Now these folks are more of a home version. They're not nearly as precise, but there's something interesting about this. Tell us what's interesting about this.
Well, they're dancing on a door.
Dancing on a door.
I just love it. I don't want to, because I don't know. Are we going to hear the narration of what?
Probably, but it sometimes is a little hard to hear it, so you can.
Yeah. Okay. So this would happen in somebody's home after. I think the gentleman is going to be describing, after a haying or whatever it is when they're having a party, and so at the end of the evening, if the dancing they'd gotten a bit competitive or whatever, they take the door off the hinges because apparently everybody just had a door they didn't mind taking off, or a half a door if you didn't have a whole door. Put it down on the floor, stick 4 glasses of water or porter which is like a dark beer on each corner. And then the person would, these are all men that are doing it in this video, and they would step dance on it. And the idea was you wanted to spill the least amount of liquid, and that would make you the best dancer. And this was, you know, I guess, I think a lot of drink had been taken by this time, probably. But dancing on a door. And yeah. So, you know, what a wonderful idea. You gotta wonder who first came up with it, who thought, well, sure, we'll just take the door off the hinges and we'll put it down. And
I think they touch on that just a little bit in this video. So let's it's just a minute long. Let's have a quick listen to door dancing.
Last year's Carolyn Festival in Keju revived the old tradition of door dancing. A solo dancer dances on a door and tries not to spill the water in the 4 glasses which are placed around the edge of the door.
It was Martin Sweeney that told me all about the door dancing. And you see, in the old houses, they had only a mud floor, a lot of the old houses, and a flag in front of the fire. Some of them they hadn't. So when there'd be a gathering of people there at any kind of a function, like gathering hay or digging spuds or something like what they used to call a mehel, they'd have a dance that night. And when they do sets and all that kind of thing, the solo step dancer then would be asked to dance, and the door would be taken down from him for him to dance on, you know, like the half door or the full door. You see, it was only on book-ons, and it was very easy to take it down and leave it on the floor. And I'd say they weren't too worried about the paint getting cracked on it. If there were 2 or 3 dancers that were very good and that they weren't able to decide who was the best, they'd put them through the drill again and leave 4 glasses round on each corner of the door. And whoever was able to do was dance the best and knock out the least amount of water out of the glasses was the winner of the competition. Now, I think that it's only in a case where they wouldn't be able to decide who the winner was that they put the glasses of water on or porter, I think now he used to tell me it was porter used to be in.
So because the floors were like made out of mud and dirt and stuff, so you can dance on them.
Yeah, I like that. When you be getting digging the spuds or getting the hay in, then why not
have a party
dance? Yeah, get that door off. What I was just I wrote down doorknob. Like I guess they didn't have doorknobs, or
that's a good question.
I'm not really sure about that one, because that would certainly incline the door. So no,
I mean, we're talking back in a day where you had a dirt floor, so
yeah.
I'm surprised you even had a door.
They just, well, as he said, sometimes just half a door.
Just a half a door.
Yeah, which would make your steps have to be tighter and more precise. But I love the fact that, it was only in the instances where they couldn't decide who the winner was, where you'd get the glasses of water.
You get the glasses, yeah.
Or the glasses of porter.
Yeah. But if you couldn't decide who the winner was, they put the glasses on the 4 corners. And whoever's
getting the glasses out.
Amount of water.
Yeah, up you get once again. We'll have do another dance. That's what determines who's the best dancer.
Neither one of these men that were dancing was just 1 or 2. Anyways, did not have the same precision as the young women that were dancing.
And quite elderly as well too, and certainly did not have the posture that the young female dancers did by any means. But yeah,
still better than I could do. I'm just going to say that.
I think this is something we need to investigate, Amy. I think you and I need to have a good old door dance back in North Vancouver at some point. I think that would be good. Now that you've floated that balloon, I think we should do that.
Oh dear. I think I'd break the door. Okay, so that's a little dancing for you. Thought that was a little bit of fun. And now we're gonna do a little something that's gonna prep us for a little game that we're gonna play to finish off our evening. So I thought it would be fun to learn how to maybe do a little Irish accent. Now Eileen's already got this like down pat because
I don't.
Yeah, you do. You're an actor, you know dialects. You do. I don't. But I would invite folks who are with us in the Zoom room to practice this because I'm going to get you to come in and participate in a little game. In a little game! A little game! That's not very Irish. So let's play this video and practice along. We're going to pause it along the way, and I hope you play because it might be worth your while to do so. All right, Rick, why don't we start with our YouTube dialect coach and see where we get to.
Hello friends, I'm Madeline Harvey, and today I thought it would be wonderful to extend our vocal workings to include the music of an Irish accent. We're going to be exploring certain sounds, and then we're going to apply those sounds into practice sentences. That way you'll be speaking that beautiful brogue in no time. So if you like today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up or click the subscribe button below. I would love to see you here more often. Now, it's important to note that whenever you're learning a new accent, it's very helpful to isolate sounds that are specific to that accent. In order to do this well, I encourage you to pause the video during each sections, going over each of the practice words slowly. This may feel really strange at first, but each of the sounds can become beautiful once they're lived in a little. Are you ready to get started? Here we go. My favorite place to start, as a jump-off place in an Irish accent, is the sound I. Now in English we say I, but in an Irish accent we say oi, as in the word oil. Oil. Now just jump in with this on me. Say oil, oil. Now add that sound to the word Ireland, Ireland. Do you feel that bending movement carry you into the sound? So the practice words with this vowel shift include oi, Ireland, hoit, noit, soit, roit, ploit. Practice sentences. Fortune smiled upon him in Ireland. Fortune smiled upon him in Ireland. Is not quite the right shade of blue. Is not quite the right shade of blue. I'll be having some of that oil. I'll be having some of that oil. So I just want you to get the sense of that bending movement of the oi sound as you work with the sounds. And the better you get at it, the more you can tighten it up a little bit. The next sound that we're going to be playing with is an Irish R. In an American English accent, you would say park, garden, where the R sound has special emphasis in the back of the mouth and the throat. But in an Irish accent, it's as if we smile, making the vowel very broad as it comes forward to the front of the mouth. So instead of park, garden, we would get park, garden. Go ahead and try this with me. Park, garden. One more time. Park, garden. Practice words are park, garden, hard, work, start, earth. One more time. Park, garden, hard, work, earth, start. Practice sentences. You're such a hard worker. Together. You're such a hard worker. What on earth are you doing? Together. What on earth are you doing? When do you start school? When do you start school? So feel that broadness of the R as it moves from the back, coming around to the front of the mouth. Our next practice sound is the vowel shift from ow to ew. And I find that this is personally the most difficult. As a standard American English speaker, sometimes there's an emphasis on this sound in particular. For example, flower, sour, hour. There's a great deal of space in the mouth. But remember, with an Irish accent, it's very small and it's very relaxed and melodic. So the word flower, if we were to make that smaller, becomes flower, ewer, sour. So let's try this together. Our practice words are flower, ewer, sour, how, found, out. One more time. Flower, ewer, sour, found, out, how. So our practice sentences are, I found out lemons are sour. Let's try it together. I found out lemons are sour. We don't have to go to work for another hour. Let's try it together. We don't have to go to work for another hour. Flowers grow in the garden. Flowers grow in the garden. Let's try that one together. Flowers grow in the garden. So take your time with this one. Remember, it's all about keeping it small, keeping it very relaxed and melodic. Moving right along to our next vowel shift as we go from home to home. This is known as the Irish O. And again, with standard American English, there's lots of space that tends to be emphasized in very dramatic fashion. Home, blown, stone. But everything in the Irish accent is very forward, front of the mouth, and very small. So it becomes home, blown, stone. Now let's try this together. Home, blown, stone, known, court, road. Practice sentence is, I know I met him in the road a short time ago. Let's try this together. I know I met him in the road a short time ago. One more time. I know I met him in the road a short time ago. Well done. Feel that smallness of space moving front into the forward of the mouth. And now for our final exercise in today's video. We're going to take the sounds that we've been working so hard at, and we're going to give them a nice conversational approach by focusing on that lovely, dreamy, up and down lilt that the Irish accent is known for having. I'm going to do each of the practice sentences only once, so I encourage you to listen, pause, practice, and then when you're ready to resume, go ahead and press play. Here we go. Don't take it so personal.
Okay, Eileen, I'm going to try it.
Yay!
Everybody try it on your own computer. Don't take it so personal.
Was that fun, Amy?
I don't know. I don't know how it sounds. You try it.
Do it again. Do it again.
Don't take it so personal.
I think the first time you go with your instinct, because I think you pretty much had it the first time. Don't take it so personal.
Don't take it so personal.
I say, the PER in personal. If you really think about that as like pair, like the
personal.
Personal.
Personal. Personal. Okay. There's another one. Let's try another one.
Would you care to go out? I'd love to.
Would you care to go out? I'd love to.
Would you care to go out? I'd love to.
Would you care to go out? I'd love to.
Bad, Amy. Not too bad at all.
Not too bad?
At all.
All right, let's try another one.
Sure, and that'll be the end of it.
Sure, and that'll be the end of it.
You can think of that as more like a dat, and that'll be yeah. You just want to flick your tongue and then stir.
Sure, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah, and sure is more like closer to share.
Sure.
There you go.
Sure, and that'll be the end of it. And that'll be the end of it. And that'll be the end of it. This is fun.
Well done, Amy. Well done. Pamela, you were saying something in the comments. I didn't quite catch it. Here, hang on a second. We'll have to go to the chat there. What did you? You picked a tougher line. Fortune smiled on Ireland. In Ireland, yeah. Fortune smiled on Ireland at would be easier. Okay, should we try that one, Amy?
Well, let's see what our friend has in store for us.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes.
That could be
yes.
one of them. But
yes.
I want to see if there's somebody in the room who wants to do the next one. Anybody want to volunteer?
I mean, I could try a line in general. Volunteering for the next one, I'm not sure.
Well, hang on, because Ben's put his hand up.
All right.
Dad put his hand up. Let's just see if we got hands first. Okay, well, okay. So Pamela will do you first, and then Ben, you can try the next one. All right, Rick, hit play.
It wasn't a date the way you're thinking, and I'm done telling you. End of discussion.
I don't even know what she said, and I don't mean because I couldn't hear it. I said it was 'cause it was too fast.
It wasn't a
words
date,
were-
and I'm done telling you. End of discussion.
It wasn't a day, and I'm done telling you. End of discussion.
Yeah, it wasn't a date. She's blowing somebody off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Could I hear it again?
It wasn't a date the way you're thinking, and I'm done telling you. End of discussion.
Wasn't the dates the way you're thinking, and I'm done telling you. End of discussion.
Well done, Pamela. I'd say he's got to go sit in the corner and be refused a pint.
Very nice. Very nice. Ben, are you still wanting to try the next one?
I would love to.
Okay. Rick's going to hit play and she's going to deliver another line.
Like I says to yous, that's really very true, but surely after you'll be knowing the truth of it, somewhere along the road anyway.
That's a long one.
That's a whole monologue.
Does she have... Oh, you want to try it?
I will try to give this a try in the dialect that she's speaking, and I'll try it. Okay. Amy, if I get this wrong, please let me know.
No, Eileen's the expert, not me.
Or Eileen, sorry. And that's the kind of the dialect that could be true.
Not bad.
Say it again, Ben.
And that's the way of the dialect, and that can be true.
That's not bad at all, Ben. Well done, you. To be sure.
Very nice. We got anybody else that wants to give it a try? I don't know how many more she's got in her.
I know these are getting longer and longer. Every time she opens her mouth, they're getting longer and longer.
No, I'm intimidated. Well, hang on, Ben. We'll just put everybody back on mute for now. Just hang on. Rick, hit play and see what we got next.
Wait till I tell you what I read in the paper. I never heard the like in my life.
Oh, that's a good one.
Anybody want to try that? Let me tell you what I read in the paper. I never heard the like in my life. Let me tell you what I read in the paper. I never heard the like in my life.
I think she said haired. Because she wants you to do that.
I never heard the like in my life. I never heard the like in my life.
Wait till I tell you what I heard in the paper. No, that's right. No, you were right, Amy. She says, I never heard the like in my life, in the second time.
Yeah, let me tell you what I read in the paper. Read in the paper.
Can we play it again? Because apparently it didn't play for a couple of people.
Wait till I tell you what I read in the paper. I never heard the like in my life.
All right,
anybody want to have a go?
Somebody else has to take a stab at this one then.
Just leap in. Pretend you've had a drink and it'll make it easier.
I'll try it, I guess.
Come on, Kathy.
Maybe I need a glass of wine first, but let me tell you what I read in the paper. I never. Oh boy, how does it go? Heard the like in my life, or something like that.
Ooh,
that's good. Like that. Yeah, try it again. Let me tell you what I read in the paper. I never heard the like in my life, but yeah.
Okay. Let me tell you what I read in the paper. I never heard the like in my life.
Yeah, well done, Kathy.
Nice, Kathy. Nice.
Oh, thank you.
Very nice.
That's hard to do.
It's the first time. Imagine if you'd done this 100 times, where you'd be. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Rick, does she have any more in her? Let's see.
So there you have it, guys.
That was it.
That was it.
That was it.
Well done.
That was fun. So there was a little means to an end to that, because now we get to just do a little trivia / riddle / stuff. But here's the trick. You gotta use your best Irish accent to try and answer the trivia questions / riddles.
Oh
So
boy.
anybody can play. Eileen, maybe you can help me keep track of the hands. That'll be the easiest way.
Okay.
To
If I can see the hands.
Open your participants panel.
Oh, Amy, you know I'm the worst technological person in the world, right?
Yeah, and the bar at the bottom, it should say participants. Right next to your camera.
Yeah, yes, it does.
Click on that, it opens a window.
Yes.
And
Yes.
hands will come up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ben's got a hand up.
Well, we haven't even asked a question yet, Ben.
Okay.
So
I was just testing.
Oh, you were just
Thank you, Ben.
I was
Thank you,
just
Ben.
testing. I was just testing.
I appreciate it.
Okay, you were
I was just testing that.
Okay.
With your Irish accent. That's great.
Perfect. So Eileen, can you also maybe help me keep score?
Okay, I've got my pen here. Yep.
Okay. So I'll keep an eye out for the hands and you help me keep score.
Okay.
Great. All right. Here goes the first one. We're going to do first to hands. However, if the person to do hands comes up every time, then that's not fair. So I'm going to pretend that you're not always the first person because that's not fair. All right, here we go. This one is a joke. Why don't you iron a 4-leaf clover?
Ben's got a hand up.
Ben's got a hand. Ben, why don't you iron a 4-leaf clover?
You don't iron a 4-leaf clover because it's plastic.
I'm sorry, Ben, that is incorrect, but not a bad accent. Anybody else before I give you the answer? Why don't you iron a 4-leaf clover?
I don't see any other hands.
Okay, hearing none, here's my best Irish accent. Because you don't want to press your luck.
Oh, groan.
They're all groans.
Oh,
You
groan.
remember the holiday ones? They're groaners. So here we
Oh
go.
my. I liked Ben's answer.
Is it plastic? Here's another groaner, but you'll love it. What's Irish and stays out all night?
Oh. Anybody else got a hand? Anybody else gonna?
What's Irish and stays out all night?
I don't see any hands.
Ben, you gotta let some other people play.
Kathy's got a hand up.
Come on,
Well,
Kathy.
I don't know. I'll just guess. A man who stays in the pub all night, all night, or something. I can't do it very well. Something like that. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Wrong. It's wrong. I know.
Oh, I think it's awesome.
That's great.
It's not the right answer, but it's awesome.
Okay. I don't know what it is to say.
Pamela, have you got an answer?
I bet it to be patio furniture.
It is patio furniture. You got it. Patio furniture. Okay.
That's so funny.
Why did St. Patrick drive all of the snakes out of Ireland?
Oh. Kathy's hand.
Want to try that one again, Kathy? Of course, we know there were no snakes in Ireland, but this is a riddle, so it's supposed to be a groaner.
Kathy, are you going to try that one?
It's a leftover hand,
Oh, okay.
I guess.
It's a left hand leftover.
It's a real good groaner.
Okay, so what was it?
Why did St. Patrick drive all the snakes out of Ireland?
Okay, can I guess?
Yeah.
Because they couldn't walk?
Where's your Irish accent?
Oh, sorry. Well, lass, I'd say it's because they couldn't walk.
That is not the answer, but it's close.
It's close, so there's a hint. Anybody
It's a
else
mode
wants
of
to wade in
transportation.
there?
It's a mode of transportation.
Oh, Ben's got his hand up again.
All right, Ben.
It is a green mode of transportation.
No, that's not correct. Because it was too expensive to fly them out. Why did he drive all the snakes out of Ireland? Because it was too expensive to fly them out. Wah, wah.
Oh, Amy. Oh, my goodness.
What do you call a fake Irish stone? A fake Irish stone.
Oh.
Is it occurring to you?
I think so, but okay. Oh, Pamela's got her hand up.
I thought to be Blarney.
But that's not a fake Irish stone. It's a real Irish stone.
But
Blarney means fake. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow.
It does.
Okay. But it's
Pamela,
real,
I would fight for you on that one.
it's a real fake, but it's not the answer. It's not a groaner. Nice try, though.
She's tough. Amy's tough.
I'm just
Okay.
following the chat GPT jokes.
Okay.
I got one more person want to try this one?
No, it doesn't look like it. Huh.
It's a sham rock.
Oh.
And that was chamois.
Oh,
That's good. That's
I
good.
thought that was the first one, actually, when you said, why wouldn't you iron it? Because it's a sham.
Oh, that would have worked. Yeah. The all-purpose answer.
So this, nobody has to guess at this one. I'm just gonna read it because it's one of those.
Okay.
An Irishman walks past a bar. Nah, just kidding. That would never happen. That should be on St. Patrick's Day. That would never happen. All right, let's see what we got next. I don't like any of these ones. Okay. I don't know that anybody will guess this, but we'll try it. The oldest bar in the world is in Ireland. What year do you think is the old, like, what year did it come from? It's a round number. So you don't have to be like, was it 1994? It's a round number. Of course, it's 80. It's not BC. The oldest bar in the world is in Ireland. But what year is it from? What year is the oldest bar from?
I don't see any hands. Oh, Ben's got his hand up.
Spoke too soon. I believe it's 1995 in the Blarney Stone.
That would be 2 wrongs, and 2 wrongs don't make a right, Ben, so I can't take that from you.
Okay, so Pamela's got her hand back up again.
Okay, so you said the year, I believe. I'm going to take a real stretch and go with 1060.
Ooh.
1060 is close. But
Wow!
like the Price is Right rules, you can't go over.
Oh, no!
900 AD, the oldest bar in the world from Ireland.
I knew it was a
And it's
while,
called
but geez.
Sean's Bar. Sean's Bar.
Really?
Yeah,
Sean's Bar.
yeah. There you go.
Wow.
Yes, indeed.
Is it basically a Saudi?
I don't know. You could ask ChatGPT that on your own time.
Yes.
Okay, here's a multiple choice one. So, what is Ireland's national symbol? What is Ireland's national symbol? Somebody's got to come in before I give you the choices. Oh, Pamela, come on. You can't have them all. Let's see if anybody else comes in. This is a multiple choice one, friends. You got 4 choices. So,
But you're not going to say what the choices are until somebody guesses?
no, somebody just has to come in and then I'll give you the 4 choices.
Oh, okay. So Ben and Kathy have a hand up.
I'm gonna
Kathy
see
can
if
go first.
No, I just want to see if there's one more person, because we've heard a lot from Ben and Kathy. Not that I don't love you both, but we have.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
Let's just see if another person comes in. Carrie? Carrie's here. Carrie, I haven't heard it all from you. Okay, Carrie, you want the 4 choices? Here are the 4 choices. Is it an Ellen's pipe, a shamrock, a snake, or a harp?
Harp.
That is correct. It is the harp. Did you do that in an Irish accent? Because you should be pretty good at that.
Harp.
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 Harp. Harp.
Have you got Barry with you tonight?
No, unfortunately, he's back in Ireland.
Oh, okay.
And it's too late for him to tune in because it's like
It's tomorrow? Yeah.
Yeah, it's 8 hours.
But I should know that they have you can get like a beer there, like a drink in their glasses, and they actually have like tactile harps on the glasses.
Oh, they do. It's also, isn't that the symbol for Guinness too? It's a harp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Very
Nice.
cool. Point for Carrie. All right. Let's see this one here. I don't like that one. Why do Irish golfers bring an extra pair of socks? Why do Irish golfers bring an extra pair of socks? In case they get a hole in one. That's good. Come on, it's good.
That was hilarious. Just saying.
Yeah. It's good. That's a good knitter joke.
It's a good knitter joke. That's awesome.
It is. It's a good knitter joke.
Okay. Eileen, you should know this one.
Oh.
But let's see if anybody else does.
Okay.
What is the traditional language of Ireland?
Oh.
What is the traditional language of Ireland?
Anybody else? Come on. Come on, folks. I don't see any hands.
Kathy got a hand? Is that Kathy?
He's got a hand.
All right, Kathy, what is it? Give us your best Irish.
Well, I could be wrong too, but is it Celtic? That's probably wrong. Is it wrong?
Say it again, Kathy.
Celtic.
It's close.
Oh, okay.
Same number of syllables.
Then I don't know. Pass it on to someone else.
Pamela and Ben have their hands up.
Okay, Ben, let's go for it.
May I get the question one more time? It was a little hard to hear.
What is the the traditional language of Ireland?
Irish, of course.
You would think that would be correct. It's a good joke. Alas, that's not the answer.
Pamela?
Pamela?
I believe that's the Irish Gaelic.
So now, what's the difference between Gaelic and Gaelic?
I can tell you.
Yeah.
The Gaelic is what is spoken in Scotland.
And the Gaelic is what's spoken in
Well,
Ireland?
Irish Gaelic is, yeah. They've all got the same root, but yeah. And they say, do you ken the Gaelic in Scotland? Because ken means no. So
There was a joke in one of these, and the punchline was Gaelic breath. Something about Italian food and Gaelic breath. And I was like, Gaelic breath? That doesn't make sense. Gaelic breath? And I was like, oh, it's Gaelic. Oh, right? And I was like, well, what's the difference between the two? It's just how you pronounce it? No, there's a difference between the two.
So that
Okay.
was Pamela. You got that one, right? Yes. Yes.
So
Okay.
this is a true or false. True or false. So this is, again, somebody just has to say, I want to play, and you got a 50-50 chance. Let's see if we can get somebody new who hasn't played yet. I'm telling you, it's going to be worth your while. Got to play. True or false? True or false? I promise you it's worth your while. Don't be shy.
I got no hands.
Come on. Are people asleep out there? Totally worth your while.
Kathy's got a hand up.
All right, Kathy.
I don't want to keep playing if someone else is.
That's okay. No. Kathy, true or false? More Irish people live outside of Ireland than in it. More Irish people live outside of Ireland than in it.
True. Tis true.
Tis true. Tis true. Yes. Ireland has a population of about 5 million people, but estimated 80 million people worldwide claim to be Irish or of Irish ancestry.
Can I tell you a piece of Gabriel Byrne trivia?
Yes.
Because he used to be the official, sort of representative for Tourism Ireland until he got completely disenchanted because they tried to make him do all kinds of embarrassing things. And he said, no, I'm not having that. But he said, your average Irish person doesn't give a blank about the diaspora. In other words, the people, unless it's to try and get a couple of quid out of them when they come and visit. So he got very disenchanted with the whole, because they did a whole sort of reunion thing in 2014 where they were asking people to do really silly things. And he just said, no, we're better.
I think I saw that in an interview somewhere.
Yeah, his language was much richer than I'm saying, but and done with his beautiful voice. But essentially, it was like, no, don't make us out to be
anymore.
Yeah, there's a word twee that's kind of that whole sort of stereotypical thing, and I think he just wasn't having that.
Okay, here's another multiple choice one. Anybody want to take it? It's a cool question, actually.
Nope, Marie said it.
All right, Marie, here's your multiple choice answer. An Irishman invented one of the following things. Are you ready? Did an Irishman invent A, the submarine, B, the airplane, C, a train car, or D, a pair of walking boots? Submarine, airplane, train car, walking boots. What's your guess?
Oh no. Did we lose her?
We probably lost her, but I'm going to keep that question for her. We'll move on, but I'll keep that question for her.
Okay.
Oh.
That's we can just do a different. You got another one there, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, so here's the next one. Which one of the following is a traditional Irish dish? It's also multiple choice.
I can't put my hand up.
You want to do it, Nancy?
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to unmute myself.
Yep, you're unmuted. You want to do it? You haven't done one yet.
Why not?
Which one of these is a traditional Irish? Sorry, which one is not a traditional Irish dish? Not a traditional Irish dish. Ready?
Yep.
Irish stew, potato pancake, mashed potato with cabbage, or corned beef and cabbage. All of these are traditional Irish, or none of these are traditional Irish.
Great. Okay. What was the last one again?
All of them or none of them. The foods are mashed potatoes with cabbage, corned beef with cabbage, Irish stew, and Irish stew, potato pancakes, mashed potatoes with cabbage, and corned beef with cabbage.
I think the last one.
Corned beef with cabbage?
Yeah.
Is not traditionally Irish?
Yeah.
That's correct.
Am I right?
That's correct. Yep. That's the American version. The traditional one would be
what I can say,
corned beef and bacon. Yep, bacon was cheaper for in Ireland, and when the Irish were in America, it was harder to find. So Nancy,
Everybody.
I said it in pardon?
All right.
I was just saying good night to everybody.
Good night, Ben.
Oh, good night. Good night, John.
Did we get Marie back?
Good night, fella.
Good night, fella.
Once we get Marie back for her question, we'll wrap this up. Did we get Marie back?
I thought I saw her.
Oh, did I hear her?
Her hand is up and she's unmuted, but we still can't hear her.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
No. She has to press Alt-A to unmute.
She is unmuted.
Oh, she is unmuted. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's odd. Well, maybe she has to press it to it. I don't know. That's odd.
Something's glitchy, like maybe her microphone's not working on her end, or...
Yeah, that could be. It was working
Or
earlier.
Zoom is choosing the wrong microphone that's not attached or something silly like Zoom does.
Hate that when that happens.
Well, it was working when we were...
Yeah, it was working at the beginning. Yeah, that's too bad.
All right, well, we will do one more, and I'll email Marie her question.
Excellent. That's a good idea.
True or false? One last true or false. Let's see if we can get somebody who hasn't done this before. We have one last taker who's new. True or false? Rita, come on in, Rita. Wonderful. True or false?
Okay.
I lost my page. Sorry, just give me 1 second. I'll find it. If you were paying attention during the documentary, you probably know this. The first recorded St. Patrick's Day parade, big fancy parade, was recorded in what city? Recorded as in documented. In what city? The first big documented parade, big parade, in what city? Here we go. Here are your answers. Dublin in 1701, Boston in 1737, New York 1762, or Cork 1899. The year was not shared in the documentary. Just the city. Dublin, Boston,
sure.
New York.
I'm thinking Boston, but I don't know why I think that.
So here's the thing. The documentary says New York, but the history of Google says Boston. So I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
Yep. I would have given it to you for either choice.
I lived in Boston for about 15 years, and I'm
big Irish population both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rita gets it, but you didn't do it in Irish. Can you do it again in your Irish accent? Your Gaelic? Gaelic?
Yeah. Boston.
I love it. I love it. Okay, Eileen, what kind of who are the people that I don't need to know how many people got things right, but who participated?
So we had Ben, Kathy, Pamela, Rita, Carrie, Marie, and Nancy.
How many is that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7. Okay. I am going to write their names down next to a number. So we've got Carrie, Rita, Ben, Marie, Nancy, Kathy, 1, 2, 3,
and Ben.
Pamela.
Pamela. There's Pamela. Okay.
Okay. And did you get Ben?
Yep. I got all 7 of you, and I am going to put these in. Don't you love computers that put things in random orders? Scatter. I'm going to scatter the names, and all you need to do, Eileen, is pick a number between 1 and 7.
4.
4? Everybody want to know who number 4 is?
That's a lucky charm.
Number 4 is Carrie. So Carrie's going to win a prize, and you can pick one more number between 1 and 7, but not number 4. It's taken.
Okay. 2.
Number 2. Number 2 is Marie. She didn't even get a chance to answer her question. But Marie's won a prize. So these are going to be a box of a little bag of Lindt chocolates, Irish cream chocolates.
Oh.
And they'll be delivered to your home.
Thank you.
Yeah, something fun. This is why I said it's worth your while. But you'll have to email me your addresses, so I will reach out to get those from you, because I don't just have them memorized. There we go, friends. Congratulations on your prizes. Thanks for playing our trivia and joining us for our St. Patrick's Day shenanigans and shanties. And
I think it's very, very brave of everybody that attempted an Irish accent. It's not an easy one, so well done, everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank
Have
you.
a lovely night, folks. We're going to stop the recording now. Join us again next week on VocalEye.
Thanks for coming, everybody. That was fun.
VocalEye, vocaleye.ca. Special thanks to our funders, the Canada Council for the Arts, the British Columbia Arts Council, the Province of British Columbia, and the City of Vancouver.